My family name is Donnie. My real name is Donald, and for the last 50 years, my name has been Don, but that's another story. This is dedicated to my first best friend, James. The boy who shared my early years in those summer days in the cotton fields of West Tennessee. I grew up in rural West Tennessee, out where the land is flat and the roads were long and narrow, and neighbors were measured in miles instead of feet. James lived a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles from our little home place. But in those days, that short stretch of gravel and dust might as well have been the whole world. Every once in a while, my daddy and I would make the walk up that road to James's house. The sun would be high, the air hot and still. Daddy walked steady, like he always did, and I would try to keep up with his long grown man stride. When we got there, James's mama would greet us with that soft voice and sweet smile of hers. She had a way of making you feel welcome the second you stepped onto their porch. She'd bring us cool water to drink and biscuits spread with the finest homemade jelly you could imagine. There was a certain smell of sugar and fruit and home that hung in the air around her kitchen. I never forgot that. James and I were about the same age, but he was the oldest in his family and I was the youngest in mine. 2 boys learning the world from completely opposite ends of birth order, but somehow meeting right in the middle, in friendship. Now, James had these little pedal cars, not just toys, actual little cars you sat down inside and pedaled with your feet. I'd never seen anything like that. To me, that was magic. I had a bicycle back home, but James, he had a fleet of little machines a kid could climb in and imagine racing the wind. I never forgot how excited I was the first time he showed me those cars. We basically grew up together through those early farm country years. Running, laughing, exploring. 2 boys with a world full of cotton fields and dirt roads and enough imagination to turn it all into an adventure. But I remember one day in particular clearer than most. Our folks were out chopping cotton, the grown-ups working long rows in the hot daytime sun. James and I were just boys, maybe 5 or 6 years old, playing out in the field. We weren't allowed to handle those sharp hoes yet, so we stayed out of the way. His older cousin T.C. came walking out toward us. T.C. was a couple years older and a good bit bigger. He wanted to play a game he called throwing dirt clods. Now, if you've never held a good dry cotton field clod in your hand, it's about like throwing a little brick. He lit into us with those clods, and man, they hurt. I told James, "Let's run." So we took off, feet pounding that dusty dirt between the cotton rows. I was a little bigger and faster, and I got out ahead. But T.C. caught up to James. Next thing I know, James is gasping, and T.C. has both hands around his neck, choking him. And that's when I heard it. That little voice that has never left me even after all these years. "Donnie, help me! Help me!" There's something that switches inside a boy when his friend is in trouble. My daddy loved wrestling, and I watched it with him all the time. Maybe something from all those evenings watching wrestling moves stuck in my mind. I don't even remember thinking. I just turned and ran straight back. I grabbed TC's arm, twisted it like I had seen on TV, turned my back, and threw him clean over my shoulder. Knocked the wind right out of him. He lay there stunned and gasping for air. James and I took off running again while he was still catching his breath. Later, his mama came down to the field mad as a wet hen, saying, "You need to keep James away from that boy. He'll hurt him." But James's mama already knew the truth. She knew her son had been the one in trouble, and she knew I would have never harmed James. James was my brother in everything but blood, and nothing was ever going to change that. That is one of my earliest childhood memories of my first best friend. Life rolled on, year by year. School came, and our little school had so many kids they split grades into 2 classrooms. A lot of the time, James was in one room and I was in the other. That meant less time side by side. Then around 3rd grade, his family moved to Maury City. 3 or 4 years passed before we saw each other again. And when you're a kid, 3 or 4 years feels like forever. By the time they moved back, I had some other friends I rode bicycles with. We had a whole little bike riding circle, and James, through no fault of his own, wasn't part of it. I regret that now. I wish I had invited him in. I wish I had made space in my young world for the friend who once cried out for me to save him in a cotton field. Later, as teenagers, we found each other again, when cars and clubs and girls came into the picture. We were young men then, with big plans and big dreams and the world ahead of us. And then life swallowed us whole. Graduation, work, responsibilities. I was working at a Shell station even before I turned 18, then a factory job, then tech school, and somehow, without either of us choosing it, distance crept in again. Decades passed, and then at our 50th high school reunion, there he was. Older, grayer, living a different life than the little boy I once knew. We shook hands, we talked, and memories came back like old Polaroid pictures, faded a little at the edges but still sharp where it mattered. Time takes a lot from a man, but it cannot take the sound of a friend crying out for help and knowing you ran back for him. No, time can't touch that. And time can't erase the bond forged between 2 barefoot boys in a cotton field, long before we knew how big the world could be.